My ex-husband slid a school enrollment form across a conference table and tapped the empty line marked Parent 2. A little over 2 weeks earlier, I had kissed our daughter goodbye for a summer vacation. Now Derek wanted my signature on a permanent move to another state. He said Maya had already started classes, made friends, and chosen him. He said refusing would only punish her. What he did not know was that the school counselor had sent me the first version of that form, along with an email he wrote before the vacation began. In that email, Derek promised the school I supported the move. He had made that promise before he ever asked me. I brought the email, our parenting plan, and the return itinerary he had sent me in May. By the end of that meeting, one of us would sign something, but it would not be the form he expected. Before I tell you how we got there, ask yourself one question. When a parent lies through a child, who should carry the cost of telling the truth? My name is Shannon Reed. I am 39 years old and I live in Knoxville, Tennessee. I handle payroll for a regional grocery company, which means my workdays are built around deadlines, missing time cards, and people who swear they submitted forms they never sent. Maya was 13 that summer, with my dark hair, Derek's quick smile, and a habit of twisting the drawstring on her hoodie when she was worried. She loved soccer, old mystery novels, and making playlists with names that sounded like weather reports. Derek and I had been divorced for 4 years after a marriage that lasted 11. For most of that time, other people described him as decisive. That confidence felt like safety when I was 24, but by 34, it felt like living in a house where every door opened from only one side. He did not scream often. He did not break things. He simply treated disagreement as a delay between his decision and my eventual cooperation. If I asked for time, he said I was overthinking. If I said no, he asked again in front of other people. And if I still said no, he explained my reasons back to me until they sounded small. The habit reached into everything. He chose Maya's first preschool because he had already paid the deposit. He volunteered us to host Thanksgiving because his mother had told the family. He accepted a promotion that required weekly travel, then called it our shared opportunity. I learned to preserve peace by adjusting, moving appointments, and changing budgets. I told myself flexibility was not the same as surrender. The end of our marriage was not one dramatic explosion. It was a Tuesday evening with a cardboard box on the kitchen floor. Derek came home and announced that he had accepted a job in Nashville after touring apartments there during a work trip. He had also told his new boss that Maya and I would move by the end of the school term. I remember standing beside that box of groceries with a jar of pasta sauce in my hand while 8-year-old Maya did homework at the table. Derek spoke as if our lives were furniture he had already arranged. I asked when he planned to discuss it with me, and he said we were discussing it then. I said I did not want to leave Knoxville because my mother had died the year before, Maya had finally settled after a hard school year, and my job carried our health insurance. Derek sighed. That sigh was one of his favorite tools. He said, "You always make change sound like danger." I set the pasta sauce on the counter. "You always make your decisions sound like ours." That was the first time I heard the truth in my own voice before I softened it for him. We separated that fall. The divorce took nearly a year because Derek fought hardest over language. He wanted every paragraph to sound equal, even when the school calendar made equal time impossible. The final parenting plan was simple enough. Maya lived with me during the school year, while Derek had alternating weekends, holidays, and 2 consecutive weeks each summer. We shared major decisions about education and medical care. Neither of us could change her school or move her primary residence more than 50 miles without written agreement or a new court order. I knew that paragraph by heart. Derek did too. He had argued over every word. For 3 years, the arrangement worked in the uneven way many divorced families work. We were not friendly, but we were functional. Derek paid on time. He came to most games. He returned Maya late often enough to annoy me, but not enough to start a war. He remained the fun parent. His weekends included concerts, climbing gyms, and breakfast at noon. My weeks included homework, dentist appointments, washed uniforms, and the alarm at 6:30. I resented that sometimes, then reminded myself that Maya deserved fun with her father and the ordinary care that made fun possible. After we separated, Derek moved twice, first to Nashville and then back to Knoxville when remote sales became common at his company. The second move put him 20 minutes away. For a while, I thought distance had taught him something because he started asking before changing weekends. He used the shared calendar. He even thanked me once for switching Thanksgiving. The change was not perfect, but it was enough that I lowered my guard. That was my first mistake. Not trusting him. Trust is not a mistake by itself. My mistake was believing a few months of courtesy had erased the old pattern. Derek had not stopped deciding for other people. He had only stopped choosing things big enough for me to resist. In early May, he called while I was matching payroll corrections to store reports, using the bright tone he saved for answers he wanted before I had time to think. He said his company was opening a territory in Greenville, South Carolina, and he had been offered the regional manager role. I congratulated him. I meant it. Then he said he was considering a move to Greenville, about 3 hours away and close enough for weekends if we planned them well. I asked when the job started. He said late summer. I asked what that meant for Maya's schedule, and he said we would figure it out. Those words should have bothered me more than they did. A week later, he asked to use his 2 summer weeks in July so he could take Maya to Greenville, visit his mother Ruth, tour the city, and enroll her in a day soccer camp. He called it a final stretch of fun before work got busy and sent the dates in writing, just as our plan required. The trip would begin on a Sunday and end 2 Sundays later. He attached a return itinerary for a flight from Greenville to Knoxville because he expected to drive there early for work and send Maya home by air. The itinerary looked normal, with her seat selected, and the arrival set for a little after 4 in the afternoon. I approved the trip in the co-parenting app, then added the flight to our kitchen calendar in blue ink. That blue square stayed on our wall long after everything else stopped making sense. The week before the trip, Maya moved through our house with the restless energy she always had before travel, making 3 packing lists and ignoring all of them. I found 6 books in her suitcase and no socks, with her soccer cleats beside a bottle of shampoo that had a loose cap. "Your father owns stores, and South Carolina has socks," I told her. She laughed and threw a pair at me. There were signs I noticed and explained away. Her duffel was larger than usual. Derek asked her to bring her birth certificate, then claimed the camp needed proof of age. I refused to send the original and uploaded a copy to the camp portal myself. He asked whether Maya had received any new vaccines. I told him her records were current and asked why he needed them. "Camp paperwork," he said. The camp website did ask for health information, so that answer was close enough to true. 2 days before departure, Maya mentioned that her father had bought her a desk. I assumed it was for Ruth's guest room. "He said I can pick the wall color," she added. "For a 2-week visit?" She twisted the drawstring on her hoodie. "Maybe for when I visit more." I asked what that meant. She shrugged and said Derek had been talking about a better schedule once he moved. I messaged him that night. I reminded him that any long-distance change required discussion and written agreement. He replied with a thumbs up and the words, "Of course." That message would matter later. At the time, it calmed me. On departure morning, Derek arrived 15 minutes early in a rented sport utility vehicle with boxes packed across the back. He said they were work samples and kitchen things for the new place. Maya ran outside before I could study them. Derek hugged me with one arm, casual and quick. We had not hugged in years, and the gesture felt less like warmth than performance. "She'll have a great time," he said. "I know, Please keep the travel app updated. You worry too much. There it was, the old phrase polished by repetition. I bent down to zip the side pocket on Maya's bag. She was 13, too old for me to fuss over her, but she let me. Call whenever you want, I said. I will. Derek opened the driver's door. We have a schedule, Shannon. I was talking to Maya. He smiled. So was I. Maya kissed my cheek and climbed in while I watched the vehicle turn at the corner. For the first 3 days, everything looked normal as Maya sent pictures of downtown Greenville, a waterfall, and Ruth's small white dog wearing a soccer bandana. Derek posted a photo of them eating ice cream. His caption said, "New city, new season." I read more into that line than I admitted. Then Maya called and spent 10 minutes complaining about the heat. Her ordinary irritation settled me. The soccer camp began on Monday, and Maya liked the coach but hated the early drills. She told me one girl, named Zoe, had invited her to a pool. On Wednesday, she sent a picture of a pale green bedroom with one wall covered in paint samples. "Grandma's guest room?" I asked. "Dad's new house." The answer came after a long pause. I asked whether she was sleeping there, and she said they had moved in the day before. Derek had not told me he had signed a lease, only that he was considering the move. I called him after Maya went to bed, and he answered on the 4th ring. "You leased a house." I needed an address for work. "You told me you were still deciding." I decided. I closed my eyes. "That is your decision. Maya's school is not." He gave a small laugh. "Nobody said it was." I called Ruth. She sounded surprised to hear from me. "They're out looking at school supplies," she said. My hand tightened around the phone as I asked, "Why would Maya need school supplies in Greenville?" Silence filled the line. Then Ruth said, "Just notebooks." Kids always need notebooks. I asked whether Derek planned to keep Maya there, and Ruth gave a nervous laugh. "You two need to work that out. We already worked it out in court. I don't want to be in the middle. You are standing in his house while my daughter is buying supplies for a school I never approved." Ruth lowered her voice. "He thinks she'll be happier here." That was the first honest sentence anyone on his side had given me. I called Derek at once. He declined the call. I wrote through the co-parenting app. I asked a direct question. Had he applied to a school in Greenville? He replied 20 minutes later. "We are exploring options." I wrote, "Do not enroll her. I do not consent to a school change. She returns on the itinerary you sent." He did not answer. That evening, Maya called from Ruth's phone with a voice that sounded too cheerful. She described a bookstore and a sandwich shop, then told me the green bedroom had a window seat. I listened until she ran out of details. Then I asked, "Has Dad told you that you're staying there?" She went quiet. "He said we're talking about it." "Has he told you I agreed?" Another silence. "Mom, can we not do this right now?" My fear sharpened into something harder. "I am not asking you to choose. I need to know what you were told." "Dad says you know." "I know he is moving. I did not agree that you are." She breathed in fast. "He said you would be sad, but you knew it was better." Behind her, I heard Derek say her name. The call ended. I stood in my kitchen, with the phone against my ear, long after the line went dead. On the wall, the blue square still marked her return flight. The next morning, Derek called. He began with, "You scared her." I almost admired the speed of the reversal. "You told her I agreed to a move." "I told her we were adults who would work it out." "She said you told her I knew it was better." "That is not the same thing." "It is to a 13-year-old, Derek sighed. "Maya has been miserable in Knoxville." That was new. He listed every hard moment from the past year, starting with an argument Maya had with 2 girls on her team. She had received a lower grade in math. She had cried after not making student council. Those things were real. They were also normal. He presented them like emergency evidence. "She needs a clean start," he said. "Greenville has a stronger soccer program. The school has better electives. My new role gives me flexibility. Then propose a change properly." "I am proposing it now." "No." You took her on vacation and started building a life around her before asking. He said, you would have said no. The sentence landed with perfect clarity. That did not give you permission to skip the question. I knew you would make this about control. I laughed once without humor. You moved our daughter across a state line and called me controlling. She wants to stay. Put her on the phone, not while you're emotional. I looked at the payroll report open on my laptop as rows of names and hours blurred together. Derek, her flight leaves Sunday. She will be on it. We'll talk before then. There is nothing to talk about until she is home. He ended the call. I sent a written summary through the app. I stated that I had not consented to relocation or school enrollment. I repeated the return date and flight. Then I called my attorney. Her name was Laura Bennett. She had handled our divorce and had the useful habit of letting silence do work. I told her what happened. She asked for the parenting plan, the itinerary, and every written message. Can he do this? I asked. He can make bad choices, she said, but that does not make them authorized. She explained the next steps in plain language. The existing plan still controlled, so I should demand return in writing, preserve communication, and avoid threats I could not or would not carry out. If Derek refused to return Maya, Laura would ask the court to enforce the plan quickly, and she warned me not to turn Maya into a messenger. Do I drive there now? Not unless you know what you will do when you arrive. I hated that answer because I did not know. For 2 days, I followed Laura's advice and kept my messages short. I called at the agreed times. Derek answered once and said Maya was at practice. The next time, he said she was asleep. Maya sent texts that sounded edited, with each one offering a reason she could not call. I began waking before dawn. I would walk into her room and see the empty space where her duffel had been. Her water glass was still on the nightstand, and a mystery novel lay face down on her pillow. The house did not feel peaceful. It felt paused. On Friday morning, my phone rang from a Knoxville number I recognized. It was the registrar at Maya's middle school. She asked whether we had moved. No. She said they had received a request to transfer Maya's records to a school in Greenville, signed by Derek with his new address listed as Maya's primary residence. Because our file showed shared educational decision-making, the registrar wanted my confirmation. I told her I did not consent. I asked her not to release anything beyond what the law required without both signatures. She said she would place a note in the file and email me a copy of the request. When it arrived, I stared at Derek's handwriting. Under reason for transfer, he had written family relocation. Not father's relocation. Family. He had reduced my home, Maya's school, her team, and 4 years of a court order to one word that included him and erased me. That transfer request was the first practical consequence. Without the registrar's call, he might have moved her records before I understood how far his plan had gone. I forwarded it to Laura. Then, I did the one thing she had told me not to do without a plan. I got in my car and drove to Greenville. A basketball hoop leaned over the driveway, and Maya's pink bicycle stood beside the garage. He had taken the bicycle from his storage unit in Knoxville, which meant he had planned to use it in Greenville before the trip began. I parked at the curb and called Laura. She answered with, "Tell me you are not outside his house." I am outside his house. Do not force entry. Do not argue in front of Maya. Ask for her return under the plan. If he refuses, leave and let me file. I promised. Then I broke the spirit of that promise within 5 minutes. Derek opened the door before I reached the porch. He wore shorts and a company polo. He looked prepared. "You should have called," he said. "I did, repeatedly." Maya appeared behind him. Her hair was wet from the pool, and she wore a green t-shirt I had never seen. For 1 second, relief emptied every other thought from my head. I stepped forward. "Get your things, honey." "We're going home." Derek moved into the doorway. "That is not happening." I held up my phone. "The trip ends Sunday. I am here early because you have tried to enroll her in school. You are proving exactly why she asked me not to tell you yet. Maya looked at him. Then she looked at me. I didn't ask that. Derek turned halfway toward her. You said you didn't want a huge fight. That isn't the same. I should have stopped there. I should have let the difference sit in the air. Instead, I asked Maya if she wanted to stay with him. It was the worst question I could have asked on a porch, with both parents watching her face. She pulled at the hem of her shirt. I don't know, Derek said. You told me you wanted to try. I said maybe. I heard only the first part. My fear turned the word maybe into rejection. I began listing everything waiting in Knoxville: her team, her school, her room, her best friend Claire. Each item was true. Together, they sounded like evidence I expected her to answer. Derek folded his arms. She is allowed to want something different. I am allowed to expect you to follow the agreement. You always hide behind paperwork when life does not go your way. I stepped closer. Paperwork is what people use when your word stops meaning anything. Maya flinched. That ended the argument for me. I saw her face and understood what I had done. I had arrived to rescue her and immediately made her stand between us. I lowered my voice. I'm sorry, Maya. You do not have to answer that question right now. Derek said. She already has. No, she hasn't. He held the door wider. Behind him, I could see the pale green bedroom at the end of the hall. New curtains hung over the window. A framed photo of Derek and Maya sat on a desk. The room was not temporary. It had been waiting for her. Then he said the thing that sent me back to my car. If you drag her out now, she will remember that forever. It was a threat disguised as concern. It worked because it used my deepest fear. I did not want Maya to remember me as the parent who arrived with an order and ignored her voice, but I also did not want her to learn that a lie became valid once it was comfortable. I stood there too long. Finally, I called through the narrow opening. I love you, Maya. I am not leaving you here. I am leaving this argument. She nodded once. Her eyes were wet. Derek shut the door. I sat in my car at the curb and shook so badly I dropped my keys twice. Laura stayed on the phone while I told her what happened. She did not scold me. She asked one question. Did he return Maya? No. Then we moved forward. I spent that night at a small hotel near the interstate. The room smelled like bleach and old air conditioning. At midnight, Maya sent a message from her own phone. Sorry, one word, I wrote. You have nothing to be sorry for. I love you. Adults are handling the adult part. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. A minute later, she wrote, Dad says you might make him lose his job. I sat up in bed. I asked why he said that. She replied, because he told work I was moving too, and he picked the house for the school. There it was, the hidden pressure. Derek had not only told a school that I supported the move, he had built his job arrangement and housing story around Maya's presence. If she returned, he would have to explain his own promises. I wrote, Your dad's job is not your responsibility. His house is not your responsibility. You are allowed to love him and still come home. She did not answer. The next morning, Derek messaged through the app. Stop discussing legal matters with Maya. I replied, Stop telling her your employment depends on where she lives. He wrote, You are twisting a private conversation. I did not respond. Laura filed a request to enforce the parenting plan that morning, though she said the court might set a prompt hearing and no responsible attorney could promise an exact day. We also sent Derek a formal written demand to return Maya by Sunday, the end of his scheduled time. I drove home because standing on his street again would not help. The return flight was still active. I checked it so often that the airline app began opening to the reservation by default. On Sunday morning, Maya's seat showed confirmed. At noon, it still showed confirmed. At 2, I drove to the Knoxville airport. I stood near the security exit with parents holding balloons and drivers holding name cards. The arrival board showed her flight on time. At 4:14, passengers began coming through. A woman pushed a stroller. 2 college students dragged guitars. A man in a blue cap looked around for someone and smiled. Maya did not appear. My phone rang. Derek said, "We canceled the flight." I already knew. Hearing him say it still felt like a door locking. "You violated the plan. I am keeping her stable." "Put her on the phone. She is upset." "So am I, put her on." He refused. I asked whether Maya had chosen to miss the flight. He said she agreed this was best. His language had shifted again. First she wanted it, then she agreed. Every version placed the decision on her and the power with him. I looked at the families leaving the terminal. "Tell her I came." "Shannon, do not make this theatrical." "I came to pick up my daughter from the flight you booked." He ended the call. The airline agent printed a record showing the reservation had been canceled that morning by the person who purchased it. That record did not prove why Derek canceled. It proved only that he had done it. I kept the paper because details mattered now. That evening, Claire's mother brought over a casserole and Maya's soccer bag. The team had started preseason practice. I set it beside the front door. On Monday morning, Maya should have attended orientation at her Knoxville school, where her name remained on the roster but her chair was empty. I went to work because payroll did not pause for family emergencies. I made 3 errors before 10 o'clock. My supervisor, Naomi Price, closed my office door and moved the reports out of reach. "You cannot calculate while you are checking your phone every 30 seconds, she said. When I finished, she said, "He is counting on you to confuse being careful with doing nothing." That sentence stayed with me. I had spent years trying not to overreact. Derek understood that. He knew I would inspect my own tone while he changed the facts. The call from Greenville came just after lunch. The woman introduced herself as Ms. Lane, a counselor at Brookfield Middle School. She asked whether I was Maya's mother. "Is she safe?" "She is safe. She is here with me." Ms. Lane explained that Maya had attended a new student welcome program that morning, where she became upset when another student asked where she was from. Maya told the counselor she was supposed to be in Tennessee, then asked whether changing her mind would make her father lose his house. Ms. Lane had reviewed the enrollment file, which included our parenting plan, because the school had asked Derek for custody documents. The same plan showed that educational decisions were shared. The school had allowed Maya to attend orientation while the file was incomplete, but final enrollment required my consent or a court order changing the arrangement. "Derek said you were traveling," Ms. Lane told me. "He said you would sign when you arrived." I never agreed. I understand that now. She asked whether I wanted to speak with Maya, only if she wants to speak with me. A minute later, Maya came on the line. "Hi, Mom." "Hi, honey, are you okay?" I told Maya I loved her. I said I was sorry for putting her on the spot at the house. She whispered, "Dad said you knew before I came." I knew he was moving. I did not know he planned to keep you. He said you were going to sign. I did not say that. She began to cry without making sound. I knew because her breathing changed. "Did he lie to me?" Then I said, "He told you I agreed when I had not." That was wrong. She asked whether she had to decide where to live. No, everyone keeps saying what I want. You are allowed to have feelings about both places. The adults still have to follow the plan and tell you the truth. Ms. Lane asked if Maya wanted a break. Maya said yes. Before she left the office, she said, "I thought you changed your mind about me." The words hit harder than the canceled flight. "Never," I said. "I came to the airport. Your room is waiting. I am waiting." After the call, Ms. Lane offered to email me the documents Derek had submitted, as long as the school could legally share them with a parent listed in the file. Within an hour, I received a secure link. The school enrollment form had Derek's signature at the bottom. The line marked Parent 2 was blank. A yellow digital flag sat beside it with the note, "Mother will sign in person before first full day." The application had been started in late April. That was 3 weeks before Derek asked for his summer vacation dates. He had contacted the school before he sent me the return itinerary, before he rented the vehicle. before he told Maya about the green room. His email to the registrar said, "Her mother is fully supportive of the transition. We are coordinating travel." The lie was not something he invented after Maya enjoyed Greenville. It was the plan from the beginning. I forwarded the documents to Laura. Then, I printed one copy of the enrollment form. I folded it once and placed it beside my keyboard. The empty signature line said everything. That afternoon, Derek called me 6 times. I let each call go to voicemail. His messages moved through the same sequence I knew from our marriage. First, he sounded reasonable. He said there had been a misunderstanding and we should discuss it privately. Then he sounded injured. He said I had gone behind his back by speaking with the counselor. Finally, he sounded angry. He accused me of using school staff to embarrass him. Not one message said he was sorry for telling Maya I had agreed. Not one said he would bring her home. I sent a single reply through the parenting app. I received the enrollment documents. I do not consent. Return Maya under the existing plan. Future communication about the move must remain in writing. He answered, "You are hiding behind legal language again." I wrote nothing else. If someone tells a child that a lie is already settled, does a good intention excuse it? That question became the center of everything for me. Derek kept defending the future he wanted. I kept seeing the trust he had spent to build it. Laura called that evening to say the court had set a short hearing for the following week, though she hoped we would not need to wait. The written demand had reached Derek, and his attorney contacted Laura to suggest a meeting at the school before classes began. Derek wanted me to tour Brookfield, meet the staff, and sign the form because he insisted I would understand once I saw the program. Laura asked what I wanted. "I want Maya home." Then do not treat the meeting as a negotiation over whether the move happened. It did not happen legally. Treat it as a chance to make the truth clear and bring her back without a courtroom fight. I agreed. The meeting was scheduled for Thursday morning. It would include Ms. Lane, an assistant principal, Derek, Maya, and me. Derek asked that attorneys stay out of the room. Laura said that was fine as long as I understood what I was signing. "I am not signing the enrollment form." "Good. Then remember that when he makes the room uncomfortable." The next 2 days were harder than the first week. Once I knew where Maya was and what Derek had done, the panic changed shape. It became a constant urge to fix everything at once. I wanted to send Maya every message. I wanted to show her the return itinerary and Derek's email. I wanted her to understand that I had not abandoned her. Laura told me not to recruit my child as a witness. Naomi told me the same thing in simpler words. "Do not make her earn the truth," she said. "Give it to her without asking for anything back." I began sending Maya one message each morning and one each evening. No questions, no pressure. "Your tomato plant has 2 new tomatoes." "Claire left your soccer bag by the door." "The mystery book on your pillow is still holding your place." Some messages received a heart, some received nothing. Derek sent longer updates. He said Maya loved the neighborhood. He said she had met girls from the school soccer team. He attached a photo of her smiling in the green bedroom. I studied the photo longer than I should have. Her smile was real. That frightened me. I had been treating Greenville as a false life because it was built on a lie, but the room was real. The girls were real. Maya could enjoy parts of it and still have been manipulated. That was the truth I had to carry into the meeting. If I made the house look entirely bad, Maya would defend it. If I made her excitement a betrayal, Derek would win. I could oppose the move without denying her feelings. That realization came late, but it came before the moment that mattered. On Tuesday evening, Ruth called. She said Derek was furious with her for speaking to Ms. Lane. I told her I had not known she spoke to anyone. Ruth sighed. "I told the counselor the room was ready before Maya came." I sat down. "How long before?" "About a month." Ruth explained that Derek had asked her to help choose curtains in June. He said Shannon would resist at first, but would agree once Maya settled in. Ruth had believed him. "Why?" Because he sounded sure. That answer hurt in a familiar way. Derek's certainty had always recruited people. Before they noticed, they had never heard anyone else's voice. Ruth said she had helped move the bicycle from Knoxville while Maya was still in school. Derek told her it would be a surprise for longer visits. She now understood that he had planned a permanent move. "Will you put that in writing?" I asked. She hesitated. "He is my son. Maya is your granddaughter." "I know." I did not push. I had spent too much of my life trying to force reluctant people into courage. Ruth called back an hour later. She said she had emailed a short statement to both attorneys. It listed the date she helped move the bicycle and the date she hung the green curtains. The statement did not prove every part of Derek's motive. It proved the room had been prepared before the vacation. I thanked her. She began to cry. "I should have asked you." "Yes," I said. It was not cruel. It was the first honest answer I could give her. On Wednesday morning, I went to Maya's school in Knoxville. The registrar showed me her schedule, still active. Her teachers had prepared materials for the first week. The principal said her place would remain open while the family issue was resolved. No one promised miracles. No one treated a form as magic. They simply told me what the current records showed. Maya belonged there until both parents agreed otherwise or a court changed the plan. I picked up a folder of assignments and a new locker card. At the end of the hall, I passed the display case where Maya's soccer team had placed a photo from the spring tournament. She stood in the back row, squinting into the sun. Claire had one arm around her shoulders. I took a picture, then stopped myself before sending it. A photo could be comfort. It could also be pressure. I saved it for later. That afternoon, Maya called from the Brookfield Library. She spoke so softly that I had to press the phone to my ear. Ms. Lane said I could use the desk phone. "Are you okay? Please don't tell Dad I called." I felt the old urge to promise anything. Instead, I said, "I will not volunteer it. If an adult asks me directly, I will not lie." "Okay." She told me Derek said Thursday's meeting was just to finish paperwork. He said I had already agreed in principle and was being difficult about details. I never agreed in principle. I know that now. The words were quiet, but they changed the ground under us. Maya said she liked the house. She liked Zoe. She liked the idea of a new school where nobody knew about the fight with her old teammates. Then she said she wanted to come home. I closed my eyes. You can like things there and still want to come home. Dad says if I leave, he took the job for nothing. He took the job for himself. He says the house costs more because he picked this district. That was his decision. He says you will make him look like a liar at work. I gripped the desk. Maya, listen to me. Your father made promises to adults. He is responsible for those promises. You are not a reason he can use to avoid explaining them. She was quiet. Then she asked, "Are you going to make me say I want to leave in the meeting?" "No. What if they ask?" "You can tell the truth if you want. You can also say you need a break. I will not make you decide the legal part." "What if Dad gets mad?" "Then he gets mad at me." That answer seemed to release something in her. She breathed out. "I thought you were coming to sign. I am coming to bring you home." The library phone clicked as someone picked up another line. Maya whispered, "I love you." "I love you too." The call ended. 5 minutes later, Derek messaged me, "Stop coaching her." He must have seen the call in the school's visitor log or heard from someone that Maya used the office phone. I replied, "I told her she does not have to choose." He wrote, "That is coaching her to reject me." The old pattern was fully visible now. To Derek, neutrality meant agreeing with the result he had chosen. Anything else was opposition. That night, I packed one small overnight bag. I placed the parenting plan, the return itinerary, the transfer request, Ruth's statement, and the school email in a plain paper folder. The enrollment form stayed separate. I unfolded it and smoothed the crease on my kitchen table. The blank line marked Parent 2 was less than 3 inches long. Derek had built an entire move around the assumption that my name would eventually fit there. I thought about all the times in our marriage when he had volunteered my time, my labor, or my agreement. Most of those moments had ended with me signing something: a party contract, a lease renewal, a school permission slip he forgot to mention. I had often signed because refusing seemed harder than adjusting. Thursday would be different. I wrote 3 sentences on an index card. I did not consent. Maya does not have to choose between us. She is returning home today. I put the card in my wallet. Naomi offered to drive with me. I said no at first. Then I remembered that strength was not the same as isolation. She took the day off and met me before sunrise. We drove east while the sky turned pale over the hills. Naomi did not give advice. She kept the radio low and handed me coffee at a gas station. We reached Greenville early. I asked Naomi to wait at a coffee shop near the school. She squeezed my hand once and did not tell me to be calm. Brookfield Middle School was a wide brick building with new glass doors and banners in blue and silver. Children moved through the entrance carrying backpacks. Parents took pictures near a sign welcoming new students. The school looked good. That mattered. If it had looked terrible, the decision would have felt easier. Instead, I had to hold the harder truth. Derek had chosen a decent school through a dishonest act. Ms. Lane met me in the lobby. She wore a navy dress and carried a tablet. She thanked me for coming. "How is Maya?" "Nervous. She is with the assistant principal." "Has Derek spoken with her this morning?" "He brought her in. We asked both parents not to discuss the meeting with her alone once they arrived." I appreciated the boundary. Ms. Lane led me toward a conference room. Through the glass wall, I saw Derek seated at the far end of a long table. The school enrollment form lay in front of him. A yellow sticky flag marked the empty line. He had brought his own pen. Derek stood when I entered. He wore a gray jacket despite the heat. "Thank you for coming with an open mind," he said. I set my folder on the table. "I came with the facts." His mouth tightened, but Ms. Lane opened the door before he could answer. The assistant principal, Mr. Cole, entered with Maya. She wore jeans, sneakers, and the same green t-shirt from the porch. Her eyes moved from Derek to me. I wanted to hug her. I waited. She crossed the room and hugged me first. Derek looked down at the form. Mr. Cole invited us to sit. Maya took the chair beside Ms. Lane, not between her parents. That small arrangement mattered. Mr. Cole said the school was not there to decide custody. Their job was to understand whether they had authority to complete Maya's enrollment and how to support her while the adults resolved the conflict. Derek nodded as if the meeting had been called for his presentation. He began with Brookfield's test scores, soccer program, and arts electives. He described his flexible schedule and the green space behind his rental house. He said Maya had already formed connections. Most of it was true. Then he said, "This move gives her stability." I looked at Maya. She was twisting her hoodie string even though she was not wearing a hoodie. Her fingers searched for it at her collar. Derek continued. He said Knoxville carried painful social history for her. He said I was attached to routine and had not recognized how badly she needed change. He never said he had lied. When he finished, Mr. Cole asked whether I wanted to respond. I took out the return itinerary. "This is the trip I approved. 2 weeks, ending Sunday." I placed the transfer request beside it. "This is the request Derek submitted while calling the trip temporary." Then I placed the parenting plan on the table, open to the paragraph about education and relocation. I did not consent to a school change. I did not consent to a move. Derek leaned back. "We know that is your current position." "It was my position before the trip." He gestured toward Maya. She had not experienced Greenville then. Ms. Lane said, "Mr. Reed, when did you first contact Brookfield?" Derek glanced at her tablet. "I do not remember the exact day." She gave the date. It was 3 weeks before he requested the vacation. Maya stopped moving her hands. Derek said he had been gathering information. Ms. Lane read one line from his email. "Her mother is fully supportive of the transition." The room went still. Derek looked at me. I believed you would support it once you saw the details. I asked, had you shown me any details when you wrote that? He did not answer. I asked again. No, he said. Had you asked me to move Maya? Not formally. Had I agreed in any way? You knew I was considering Greenville. That was not my question. Mr. Cole asked Derek to answer directly. No, Derek said. She had not agreed. Maya looked at him. You told me she did. Derek turned toward her. I told you we were working it out. You said she was sad about it, but she knew it was better. His face softened. Because I knew your mother would put you first. The sentence sounded loving until you followed its logic. He had lied because he expected me to absorb the damage. I said, do not make my love for her part of your permission. He turned to Maya. Tell them what you said about Knoxville. Ms. Lane raised one hand. Maya does not need to argue either parent's case. I am asking my daughter what she wants. You are asking her to defend a decision you made. Derek's voice sharpened. She is old enough to have a voice. I spoke before the room could become another porch. She has a voice. She does not have to use it to carry our responsibility. Maya looked at me. I took the index card from my wallet but did not read it. I already knew the words. I am not asking Maya to say which parent she loves more. I am not asking her to pretend Greenville is awful. I am saying the move was arranged through a lie. Derek laughed under his breath. A lie? That is dramatic. You told the school I consented. You told Maya I consented. You told your employer she was relocating. Then you canceled the flight that would have brought her home. I canceled it because she was crying. Maya shook her head. I cried after you canceled it. Derek froze. Maya's voice trembled, but she continued. You told me Mom would ruin everything if I got on the plane. I felt every adult in the room become very still. Derek said, I was trying to explain the consequences. To her, I said. You explained your consequences to a child until they sounded like her fault. He looked at me with open anger now. You have wanted to punish me since the divorce. If I wanted punishment, I would not be here asking you to follow the plan you signed. Mr. Cole redirected us to the school form. He explained that Brookfield could not finalize enrollment under the documents provided. They needed written agreement from both parents or a new order. Derek pulled the form toward him. Then let us solve that. He turned it around and slid it across the table. He placed his pen on top. Sign it, he said. Do not make her lose the friends she has made. Do not make her start the year embarrassed. We can adjust holidays. I will handle transportation. I did not touch the pen. The house is in this district. My work plan is built around her being here. The team expects her. Everyone has moved forward except you. I unfolded the enrollment form Ms. Lane had emailed me. It was identical to the one on the table. You wrote that I supported this before you asked me. Derek said, I was optimistic. You told Maya I agreed because you needed her cooperation. I was protecting her from uncertainty. You canceled her return flight because coming home would have exposed the lie. I kept her from being pulled back and forth. I finally picked up the pen. Instead of signing my name, I drew one line through the empty signature space. Above it, I wrote, I do not consent. Then I signed the separate acknowledgement Mr. Cole had prepared, confirming that the school had received my objection and a copy of the parenting plan. Derek stared at the form. What are you doing? Answering the question you should have asked before the trip. He looked at Maya. Your mother is taking this away from you. I turned toward her. I am not taking your feelings away. You can miss this house. You can miss Zoe. You can be angry with me. But you are not staying because your father told everyone I had already said yes. Derek pushed back from the table. This is unbelievable. I met his eyes. You did not plan a vacation. You used one to make our daughter believe she had no way home. Mr. Cole collected the forms. He said Brookfield would not complete enrollment. Maya could remain with Ms. Lane for the morning while we arranged her departure, but she would not begin regular classes. Derek stood. You cannot send her across state lines with Shannon because of one disputed form. I opened the parenting plan again. Your scheduled time ended Sunday. Laura had also given me a short letter confirming that enforcement had been requested after the missed return. I handed Derek his copy. Derek read the first page. You filed against me. I asked the court to enforce what you already agreed to. You could have talked to me. I did. You canceled the flight. He looked toward Maya. She had tears on her cheeks. I moved my chair closer, but I did not touch her until she nodded. Then I held her hand. Derek said, Maya, if you walk out now, everything we set up here is gone. Ms. Lane spoke firmly. That is not an appropriate burden to place on her. Derek ignored her. The room, the team, the people you met, you wanted this. Maya looked down. I felt the old panic rise. I wanted to answer for her. Instead, I said, she does not have to deny wanting parts of it. I said, she can like Greenville. She can love you. None of that makes the lie acceptable. Derek's anger shifted into something closer to fear. If she goes back, my relationship with her changes. It already changed when you made her responsible for your house and job. I was trying to get more than 4 days a month. That was the first time he named the real wound. His alternating weekends had become shorter as Maya's activities grew. She sometimes missed a Saturday visit for soccer. He felt himself becoming optional. I understood the fear. I did not excuse the act. You could have asked for a new schedule, I said. You could have moved closer. You could have talked to her and to me without announcing a decision. You would have fought me. Maybe, then we would have had an honest fight. Derek looked at the form with the line through my signature space. His voice dropped. I did not think you would come. Maya looked up. I answered, that is why you thought it would work. Mr. Cole asked how Maya's belongings would be collected. Derek said he would bring them to the school later. I said we could go to the house with Ruth present. I did not want another argument at the door. Ruth agreed by phone. Ms. Lane offered Maya a quiet room while Derek and I finished the practical details. Maya stood, then paused beside her father. I do want to see Zoe again. Derek nodded. I know. I also want to go home. His face folded for 1 second, then he looked away. Maya left with Ms. Lane. Ruth met us at the rental house an hour later. The green bedroom looked even more permanent in daylight. Maya's books filled the window seat. Her soccer bag hung from the closet door. I helped her pack without saying, I told you so, or asking which objects Derek had bought. She chose the green comforter and left the curtains. Derek stood in the hallway. He asked whether she wanted to leave some clothes for future visits. Maya looked at me. That is between you and Dad, I said. You can leave whatever you want. She left 2 sweaters and a pair of sneakers. That small choice mattered. Going home did not mean erasing him. The drive back to Knoxville was quiet for the first hour. Naomi followed in her car because mine was packed with Maya's things. Maya sat beside me with her knees pulled up. Near Asheville, she asked if I hated Greenville. No. Do you hate Dad? I kept both hands on the wheel. I hate what he did. I do not need you to hate him with me. She looked out the window. I really did like the room. I know. And Zoe, I know. Are you mad? Not because you found good things. She began to cry. She said she had believed I was tired of dealing with her. Derek told her I wanted fewer arguments and that the move would give me more freedom. The lie had used small truths. I was tired. We had argued. I sometimes wanted one quiet weekend. None of that meant I wanted a life without her. I pulled into a rest area and parked. I need you to hear this while I can look at you, I said. Being tired is not the same as wanting you gone. Being your mother is not a favor I withdraw when life gets hard. She leaned across the console and held on to me. We stayed there until a truck driver honked because I had stopped too close to the exit lane. At home, Claire had taped a paper sign to our front door. It said, "Welcome back, mystery nerd." Maya laughed for the first time that day. Her tomato plant had 3 red tomatoes. The soccer bag still waited beside the door. The ordinary life Derek had called too small opened around her, without demanding an explanation. The legal part continued, but it did not become another dramatic ending. At the short hearing the following week, the judge left Maya's school placement unchanged. The order required both parents to use the co-parenting app and prohibited out-of-state travel without a written itinerary and confirmed return plan. Derek's longer visits paused until a family counselor helped us create safer transitions. He was not erased from Maya's life. He was given boundaries he could not treat as suggestions. He kept the Greenville position and the rental house. He had to explain that Maya would not live there full-time, a consequence of the promise he had made without authority. 3 months later, Derek apologized to Maya. He said he had wanted more time and convinced himself that she would thank him later. He admitted telling her I agreed because he feared she would refuse if she knew the truth. He did not say he had only made a mistake. He named the lie. Forgiveness did not arrive like a light switching on. Trust returned in small, measurable pieces. Maya kept talking to Zoe online. The girls met once when Derek had a weekend in Greenville. The following spring, Maya tried out for soccer again in Knoxville. She did not make the top team. She cried in the car, then asked whether we could get tacos. A year earlier, Derek would have called that disappointment proof she needed a new life. Now it was simply a hard Tuesday. We ate tacos. She complained about the coach. On Thursday, she joined a community team with Claire. That was what stability looked like to me. Not a life without pain. A life where pain did not become permission for someone else to take control. I kept the disputed enrollment form with the court papers for a while. The line marked Parent 2 still carried the words, "I do not consent," in my handwriting. One evening, Maya found it while looking for her birth certificate. She ran her finger over the yellow flag. "Did Dad really think you would sign?" I thought about the pen in my hand and the old reflex to make the room easier for everyone else. For a few seconds, I understood why he thought I would. She folded the form along the old crease and handed it back. "What did you sign instead?" "The truth. That sounds like something on a coffee mug." I signed a paper saying the school had received my no. I put the form away. I do not believe every broken family needs a dramatic cutoff. I also do not believe love turns consent into a technical detail. Derek loved Maya. He was afraid of losing time with her. Those facts explained why he wanted the move. They did not give him the right to invent my agreement, trap her inside his promises, or make her responsible for the life he arranged. My daughter came home because I stopped trying to make my refusal comfortable for the person who ignored it. The empty signature line was not a failure to cooperate. It was the place where cooperation finally became honest. So tell me this. Would you have signed to preserve the new life or refused because of the way it was built? I know my answer. A child should never have to choose a parent just to escape a lie.